America, what does a guy have to do to get your attention? Unfortunately, I don't have tits. I can't flash my tits. I'm just average American living in Michigan. Always been interested in honeybees. Had honeybees now for 10 years. Lived in this area here in mid-Michigan, surrounded by crop farmers for over 30 years, like 31 years. And never really realized we were being affected by the chemicals until I had honeybees. I've got videos on my channel showing my honeybees dying from the spray or chemicals a crop farmer used back in 2019. Here in Michigan, I called the state of Michigan the day after I called the farmer and didn't get an apology. They came out, took samples, told me, yes, your bees died from the chemicals the crop farmer used. His name was Theron Eicher. Okay, so here it is. They told me that in July, or end of June. And then by August, they told me the farmer did nothing wrong. You know, it was mid-May when my bees were killed. There was nothing in that field south of me, 150 yards. It was all dirt. The wind was blowing from that field. They were out there early in the morning, and I knew the wind was blowing from that direction. I had to go do an electrical job. I came back home around noon, and all my colonies facing that direction, facing the south, bees were coming out onto the ground going like this. So then I called the farmer's family and told them, never apologized. So that's when I called the state of Michigan. They came out and took samples, and then a month after that, they told me, yeah, the chemicals that farmer used killed my bees. Okay, and I told that lady, right there, Lauren Walsh, I told her the wind blew the chemicals into my hives and these bees that are coming out are nurse bees, and she agreed with me. But yet, here it is, August now, almost 3 months later, and they're telling me that it wasn't windy that day and my bees went over to that field and picked up those chemicals and brought it back to the hive. All a bunch of bullshit lies, all right? If you go on YouTube, look up the Pollinators documentary. The big commercial beekeepers in this country, in the United States, know the chemicals are causing issues, but the bee industry that sells you products is trying to tell you the varroa mites are causing all the issues. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm using a silic acid treat for varroa mites. I can get rid of the varroa mites. I can't get rid of the toxic chemicals, okay? And my government sides with the crop farmers and the chemical corporations. What can I do to get them to stop using the chemicals in my area? Okay, and my wife is from the Philippines. There's no cancer. There's no trace of breast cancer in her family. She's been here 30 years. She developed breast cancer and had a double mastectomy, all right? And I've been outside several times during the summer when I see a farmer in the area. I can smell what they're spraying. That's not right. If you can smell it, the chemicals are there. It's all right for a crop farmer to use the chemicals, and those chemicals stay on that property, the property that they own. But when those chemicals blow off from the wind and get onto other people's properties, like my property here, I don't use chemicals on my property. I'm strictly organic. Why should I have those chemicals from those crop farmers blowing on my property and having the government say that it's okay and they did nothing wrong? That's complete corruption, okay? Let me show you something else. It was about a year and a half ago, my wife suggested that we get a dog. We haven't had a dog for 10 years. And with my two businesses, electrical and beekeeping, I told her I was too busy. But a little over a year ago, she brought home this puppy, a Siberian Husky. And I didn't really fall in love with the dog until like 3 or 4 months of taking care of the dog. And her name was Sasha. And all of last year, Sasha was with me 24/7, every day. I potty trained her, the first dog I ever managed to potty train. And then about 9-10 months, she developed idiopathic epilepsy. She started having seizures. And it took her to MSU, Michigan State University emergency, the day that she had real bad seizures, back-to-back seizures. $700 we spent. And they put her on phenobarbital. And then 9 days later, she still had another seizure. And I found a local vet and trying to ask, Why are our dogs having seizures? The vet told me 20% of dogs have seizures. Not a big deal. That's just the way it is. You can't change anything about it. And I told her about my honeybees dying and my wife having breast cancer. And the vet didn't want to hear any of that. We're supposed to just accept what's going on, okay? So I went to another vet. Same thing. They're just a bunch of drug pushers. We increased her phenobarbital. So this went on for 2 months, and she still had seizures. And her last seizure she had, it was a really, really bad seizure. Lasted for a minute. And I knew she was suffering. She was squealing like a pig, running backwards, with her mouth wide open like a Pez dispenser. I just felt so bad. I knew she was suffering, so I killed her. Because I couldn't get the help that I needed from the local vets. There had been 4 different vets that saw my dog, and not a single vet asked me any questions as to what she was doing. They took her blood sample, they took my money, and they gave me a prescription of drugs, phenobarbital. And they said, there you go, deal with it, okay? Nobody wants to know what's going on with the chemicals in this country. Why are 20% of our dogs developing idiopathic epilepsy? It's not normal for a creature on this planet to do that, okay? So let me pause this again. Well, first of all, Sasha was so special to me the year that I had her. I made a list of all the things that made her special. I won't read all of it, but basically I just want you to understand it's been 5 weeks since I killed her, and I'm still crying every day. I loved her, and she loved me, and it just kills me that America doesn't stand up to what's going on. 2.5 weeks after killing my beloved Sasha, I couldn't take it anymore, and I thought getting another puppy would help. It really hasn't helped, and I've named her Natasha because I don't want to forget Sasha. So every time I say Natasha, I remember Sasha. And I did pronounce agouti wrong. I said agouti. She's an agouti, which is a South American wild animal. It doesn't really have nothing to do with agouti. I was told agouti means beautiful, or no, wild, because of their color of their fur. Well, whatever. Replacing one dog with another doesn't necessarily fill the void in your heart. But what I'm getting at here is with these honeybees, I'm doing this for 10 years. Towards the end of winter, the bees are dying through winter due to the toxic chemicals. It's in their wax, it's in their pollen, it's in the honey. And certain colonies won't make it through winter. It's just like certain people get cancer and die at a younger age than others. But they're basically all having a hard time. So what I do is I go through every morning and I check the size of the cluster, size of the colony. And any colony that's gotten small, I will put a screen on it, strap it, and bring it in. Okay, that's the only way that I can save it. So you got the toxic chemicals. They're harming your honeybees. They're harming your health. And they're harming the health of your pets because of all the crap in dog food. Okay? It's a GMO food contains the chemicals that the grains had. Corn, soybeans, they spray those chemicals on the plants. The plants absorb the chemicals. Guess what? It's now in your food. If you're feeding your dog food that has those products in it, corn, soybeans, or even meat, you know, you go up higher up the food chain, and it's a concentration. Those cows, those beef cows, are fed those chemicals through the corn and the soybeans. Guess what? Those chemicals are in the meat. It's in your water. I saw a DW documentary. DW is a German TV company about how Europe has banned all the use of the chemicals that most of the German companies, Bayer, BASF, and Niagen, or whatever, those chemical corporations make those chemicals, sell them around the world, but yet the Europeans have spoke up and they're banned in Europe. So, but they're subjecting Americans, South Americans, and Asians to those chemicals, okay? So what I do with these bees, I can't control the chemicals. I can control the varroa mites with acetic acid. So when they get small, this is what I do. The clusters get small, I bring them in. Look at colonies that are smaller than the other colonies that are outside. When they reach a certain point, I'd like to suggest like the size of a basketball. And if they're below the size of a basketball in your hive, they're getting really small. And in temperatures near zero, they're probably not going to be able to stay warm enough to sustain themselves, and they're going to get chilled. If you check them every day, if you find the colony that's not moving, bring it in, put a hairdryer on low setting, and you may be able to revive them and bring them back to life. But if you have the experience to know which colonies are at an issue of being chilled before the cold weather comes, you can strap them, put a screen on them, bring them in, and get them through the cold weather. So I can do something about the cold. I can't do anything about the toxic chemicals. And then the smaller colonies, I'll show you. All right, that previous room, I'm not heating that right now. This room right here is heated because I have floor heat with regular water. It's in the 50s. But my smaller colonies are in this room. And I check them as many times as I can. I just checked them yesterday just to see what's going on, make sure they have enough bees. And I do have some colonies that are at risk of dying out because of the lack of number of bees. And then I also have bees in the window here. And these were small colonies going into winter. I put them in the window to keep them warm. And at the time I put them in, I had double stacked, but I moved out. But anyway, back to dogs. This guy here, he hasn't had any health issues. And this right here is Sasha's brother. And so far, he's about 6 months, and Nikolai's about 10 months. And I'm just waiting to see if they have health issues like Sasha did. Just like I told you at the beginning of my video, not everybody has issues with cancer or the chemicals. It's the same with our dogs. Why are only a few of our dogs, 20%, having issues? Would they have issues if we removed all the chemicals from our environment? Probably not. You tell them, Nikolai. Tell them. You tell them. This is toxic chemicals, right? Okay. All done. Good boy, Peter.